This is the second day of the September 1980 7-day session. We will continue reading from the chapter on repentance resolution taken from the Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. And this is the Fung and Fung edition of the Buddhist Orthodox Church in San Francisco. We yesterday started reading about the 5 fragrances of this Dharma body. First fragrance, discipline. The second, equanimity. The third fragrance, we continue, Guinang. The third fragrance is the fragrance of wisdom. This is to have no obstacles in one's mind. And always to turn the light of wisdom upon one's self-nature, refraining from all evils. This fragrance of wisdom is not the fragrance of books, of accumulated words, testimonies, the holy writ. Wisdom is when there are no obstacles in the mind. The fragrance of wisdom. So there must be awareness, both on the upper, superficial, and on the deeper levels of the mind, of the obstacles. Awareness, clear awareness and seeing of the obstacles is a change of obstacles, a change in the obstacles withering away in the light of awareness and understanding without judgment. And in that, wisdom comes into being, comes into functioning. The seeing of the obstacles already being the function of wisdom, when there's not this old me seeing with its dusty glasses on, of prejudices, ideas, opinions, all coming from past accumulated wisdom, in quotation marks. Training, drill, education, conditioning. If one looks through that at one's obstacles, one only sees one's training and one's ideas and prejudices. One doesn't even see the obstacles, because one already has an idea about them, that they're right or that they're wrong. Always turn the light of wisdom upon one's self-nature. You will say, well, when am I going to turn it on? I don't know what the self-nature is. Start with what is. Turn the light of wisdom on that. The light of wisdom being no opinions about it. No judgments, no evaluations. To see oneself stark nakedly. Honestly, frankly. Fearlessly. Refraining from all evils. If there's inattention, in inattention all evils take their origin. The inattention of the me, ruling blindly. The me is always blind to everything that's not me. Or one may have the circle a little extended to what one is identified with. Refraining from all evils, which means attention, awareness, wakefulness, alertness, mindfulness, consideration, sensitivity, openness toward all and everyone, including oneself. Though you practice all the virtues, Wei Nang continues, though you practice all the virtues, your mind is not attached to any of them, which means no awareness of practicing virtues. Virtue being action without the me, in the foreground or in the background or in the center. You may recall that when this young man, maybe you could still call him a boy, Bankei, lived, I believe, in the 16th century in Japan. He was raised by Confucian scholars because his father was a Confucian. And in reading these Confucian texts, he came upon the statement, "You must clarify bright virtue." That stumped him, perplexed him. So he asked Confucian teachers, what is this bright virtue? No doubt there were lists of virtues available to him. Not only that, he had probably heard all his life, do this, do that, this is virtuous, and this is not virtuous. And here the simple sentence, you must clarify bright virtue. Sent him on a long, deep journey. He didn't rest until he had found out bright virtue. Wei Nang continues, you are respectful to superiors and considerate to inferiors, and sympathetic to the destitute and the poor. This is called the fragrance of wisdom. We smell and hear the fragrance of Confucianism too, respectful to superiors and considerate to inferiors. But it's much more than that. One can also turn it around. Respectful to inferiors and considerate to superiors. Or need there be any thing in between? And is so prone to be respectful to the big shots. People who have power, people who seem to have this or that, or from whom one wants something. And then in this elaborate and drummed up respect, one exhausts it, and then it's nothing left for others who have nothing to offer, no position, no power, no fame. Those one ignores. Why? Why ignore anybody? Or why kowtow to anybody? Rather than seeing and listening, being fully aware of everybody, with no special attitude there. The seeing and the listening and the being there is the relationship. Sympathetic to the destitute and poor means not to despise them or think they have their just reward. If they were more on the ball, they wouldn't be destitute and poor. They worked as hard as I do. They could climb the ladder too. This is taught. These things are taught. It wasn't courses in social psychology, sociology, where things like this were thrown around. And not to think I have to gush my pity on these poor people. To see and listen, to understand them, to crawl inside, as it were. There are some great movies always which do that for us. And all of a sudden, a person who would otherwise be ignored or despised or judged as impossible, outcast, all of a sudden comes to life. And then, of course, immediately one identifies with him or her. Can there be this understanding of another person without this identification? No one to identify, just understanding this person, because one has no opinions about him or her. One sees directly what is there, and it is revealed when there are no opinions, no aversions or crushes. And this other person is alive, whichever way he or she is, even alive in his or her deadness, meaning understood, felt with. The fourth is the fragrance of detachment. This is to have no aspirations in one's mind. Not to think about virtue, not to think about vice, to be serene without hindrances. This is called the fragrance of detachment. Huineng never fails to surprise one. And I'm sure if he held this platform sutra again, he would find different words. Not bound. Fragrance of detachment, to have no aspirations. One can say to have no ideals in one's mind. No ideals. Because they obscure. They prevent from seeing what is. Some statesman or politician who has this ideal state in mind cannot see what is going on. Only wants to throw over what is, to build something new so somebody else can throw that over. In ideals, there are always pros and cons. I have my ideals, you have your ideals, and the stronger one will prevail. To have no ideals, no aspirations in one's mind of being this, becoming that, not becoming that. But to start and see and wake up where one is without any ideals. Then one is not divided, then there's full attention. And only in this attention is there a possibility for change. Not out of conceptual ideas and ideals. Not to think about virtue, not to think about vice. But clarity in one's action, in one's talking, in one's thinking. This is to be serene without hindrances. This is called the fragrance of detachment. It doesn't say detach yourself from this and this and this and this and renounce this and that. Once read a commentary by a contemporary Chinese Dharma master on this sutra, and interpreted practically every saying of Wei Neng as warning, condemning, or advising detachment from sexuality. I haven't found it in one place here. That was his overriding concern, to read that in here. The fifth is the fragrance of the detachment from opinions. He mentions it specially. The fragrance of the detachment of opinions. A person who is detached from opinions. Where to find such a person? Can one even discern? Is one even capable of discerning the difference between an opinion and a fact? Leave that question hang in your mind. Can one discern the difference between an opinion and a fact? A fact being what is, what can be verified. An opinion is what one wants something to be, or doesn't want it to be, one's judgments, which come from one's past training and experiences. How one is grown up, where one is grown up. Of course, in opinions there's always combat and struggle and strife, because we all have different opinions. Somebody was once asked, what is your opinion on such and such? And this person asked, only fools have opinions. Now, Wei Neng continues. With the mind already without aspirations and without good and evil, having seen the division, the divisiveness of ideals, and without good and evil, without judgment, judgment of things as they are. They speak for themselves. What is dangerous One doesn't touch unless one is an idiot, blind. Why would one drink poison? And yet one does. One smokes, takes drugs, but then one doesn't see the danger of things. Well, this doesn't apply to me, maybe to the others. One saw a panel right after the latest report of the Surgeon General came out on the dangers of smoking. There was this panel of young teenagers who were being interrogated by a reporter. They were all chain smokers. And he asked them, why do you smoke? Why do you smoke? Haven't you read this? And it was also before this program, before the questions, answers, synopsis of these findings were read to these young people. And most of them felt this was remote stuff. Just what they'd heard all their lives from parents. You mustn't do this, and this will happen to you. If you don't go to school, the truant officer will come. Well, he doesn't come. You can tell your child, but there's so few truant officers and so many truant children. So again, you've said something that isn't so. And then comes this fat report. These kids absolutely didn't feel that this applied to them. It's just one more calling wolf about something which had happened all their lives since they'd been born. Observe sometimes, maybe parents have changed, hopefully. They haven't really. How much one says, don't do this or such and such will happen. Better just to say, don't do this. Well, I can't make any rules about this, but if such and such does not happen, a kid starts developing an earplug. With the mind already without aspirations and without good or evil, one must avoid sinking into a useless cherishing of silence. Probably several of you have been waiting and wondering, what if I have no aspirations, no sense of right or wrong, good or evil? Then what's going to happen? Am I going to go to sleep? What is going to inspire and fire and fuel my practice? Well, what is going to? One may really, truly come in touch with this nothingness. Everything having been blown to bits, broken to pieces, withered away. Can one work in that? And what has happened if one can't? If one can't, surely thoughts have come up. This is nothingness. I'm nothing. And immediately with the thought comes a great scare, or revulsion, or all kinds of ideas again. I've got to have something to work for, or something to push me, something to pull me. It's all ideas which again drain this energy which is there when all of these things are not there. What makes these trees grow and bloom and blossom, spread out their branches? Last spring in California, we saw what was called underneath on the plaque, the largest fig tree in the world. Always has to be a plaque there. And the largest. Maybe there's one in China or Russia that's larger. We don't know, but it doesn't matter. This was an amazing thing in Santa Barbara. Maybe some of you have seen it. Those branches reach out so far. Some of them completely horizontally. What holds them? There was sideways around, while these sidewalks, they were just pushed up by the roots. Such strength. Does that tree have aspirations to become the biggest fig tree? If it did, it would have withered away when it was a sapling. Maybe not. Maybe it would have become bigger. There isn't one place where there isn't energy and strength and life. Look into the stars sometime at night. Or on the ground, in a meadow, or just listen. One must avoid sinking into a useless cherishing of silence. There's still the me clinging to something which feels so good or so uncomplicated. Who, oh moo, who is cherishing this silence? What is this nothingness? This is what the question moo means. What is moo? Moo means nothing. What is it? Not to stop anywhere on some little side track, in a little hole, but to move with a moo. Or the who. Wei Nang continues, this then means that you should study extensively, listen frequently, and realize your original mind, attaining an understanding of all the principles of Buddhism. Study extensively. Not just words to memorize, so one has them handy, so they can come in handy when one is asked something. It's not speaking of eloquence. Study extensively. If one needs to read something which can point up to one, the functioning of one's own mind, or no mind. To listen frequently to talks, teisho, or anything, the sound of the birds. Out of an inner emptiness. To realize your original mind, attaining an understanding of all the principles of Buddhism. What are all these principles of Buddhism. Does this mean now I have to register at the Buddhist university? Not to ridicule this. There are all kinds of schools of study now, courses given in Buddhism, many different places. You all know the man of the people who came to Master Ikkyu asking, write down for me some of the highest principles of Buddhism. And he wrote the word attention. Which disappointed the man. Won't you say something more? Ah, yeah. Attention, attention. Oh, that's not very profound, said the man. Attention, attention, attention. And all the principles of Buddhism are revealed right in oneself. But it's all right to study too, to see if one understands, not the words. Usually one gets confused if one just follows the words. Anyways, and some of the translations are so heavy, terribly heavy, really. It closes the book almost as soon as one has opened it up. Because the translators themselves may have been very heavy and not really clear understanding. To express clearly needs understanding. But maybe there are some books which are lighter than others. If one doesn't just read them as one normally does, 20 pages at a time or something like this. Wang Po, of course Wei Nang. Just recently read a book, The Tiger's Cave, about the life and comments of the Abbot Obora on the Heart Sutra as a contemporary style and understanding. Dawi, both of those, Wang Po and Dawi, translated by Dawi is translated by Cleary. It's the swampland flowers. Wang Po translated by Blofeld. Hui Hai is also good to read in small doses. To see and look behind the words, look inside as you read. If you can't understand, why not? Let something bug you, like the bright virtue. It is to take all events in a mellow spirit, without thought of self or others, aiming directly at Bodhi, whose true nature is unchanging. To take everything in a mellow spirit. Mellow meaning no edges. Can one take it in a mellow spirit? Mellow also meaning ripe, mature, not green and sour. Adjusting, there's another word, accommodating. Conforming, not conforming because someone is an authority and one conforms to this authority, but to flow with in a mellow spirit without the idea of self and others. Aiming directly at Bodhi. Does one aim at it? Is it sort of a target over there? Probably a strange translation. You don't aim at Bodhi. If there's no self and other, where else is there Bodhi? Bodhi meaning wisdom, love, and compassion, which is only hidden by this concern of self and the concern about one's relationship to others, good or bad. If there's no sense of me, then there's no problem with relationship. One is related to everything, so why even use the word relationship? One is everything. That is Bodhi. Wisdom, love, and compassion. Whose true nature is unchanging. What is this unchanging? What does it mean? Because everything we see and hear and do is always changing. What is the unchanging in the midst of changing? Is it possible to be in touch with it? To live in it, to live out of it? What is Mu? This is called the fragrance of the detachment from opinions. You must light the incense of these fragrances within yourselves. Do not seek them outside. In reading here before the station, this sentence, attaining an understanding of all the principles of Buddhism, picked out 3 quotes from the Buddha. One of them, he says, "Do not go upon what has been acquired by repeated hearing, nor upon tradition, nor upon rumor, nor upon what is in a scripture, nor upon an axiom, nor upon specious reasoning, nor upon a bias toward a notion that has been pondered over." A bias toward a notion that has been pondered over. No matter how long one ponders over a notion, it doesn't become any firmer or more true just because of the length of pondering. Nor upon another's seeming ability, nor upon the consideration that monk is our teacher. Buddha was probably referring to himself with that. Or any other monk. Who one considers wise. When you yourselves know beyond doubt These things are good. And good here not meaning in contrast to bad. Good. No contrast, no contradiction. These things are without fault. In other words, seeing directly the goodness, the faultlessness of something. These things lead to goodness and to happiness. Then enter on and abide in them. Another time the Buddha said, how often has it been said before? Therefore, O Ananda, was Ananda's last plea to the Buddha to say something. Be ye lamps unto yourselves. Be ye a refuge to yourselves. Betake yourselves to no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Hold fast as a refuge to the truth. Look not for refuge to anyone beside yourselves. And whosoever, Ananda, either now or after I am dead, shall be a lamp unto themselves, shall betake themselves to no external refuge, but holding fast to the truth as their lamp, holding fast as their refuge to the truth, shall not look for refuge to anyone beside themselves. It is they, Ananda, among my bhikkhus, who shall reach the very topmost height. But they must be anxious to learn, to find out, which means to question everything. And the last quote, therefore ye disciples, meaning ye learners, not ye followers. The gain of the holy life is neither alms, nor honors, nor fame, neither the virtues or rules of the monastic order, nor the bliss of samadhi, nor clearness of insight, but the unconditional, unalterable deliverance of the mind. This, ye disciples, is the purpose of the holy life. This is its central core. This is the goal. The unconditional, unalterable deliverance of the mind. We will stop here for today. We will now recite the 4 vows.
All beings without number,
I vow